We'll begin tonight with some disturbing events from Mangu local government area in Plateau State, where it's now day 4 since the attacks and killings of locals by gunmen started in the council area of Plateau State. Record has it that so far 120 people have been buried, with the numbers increasing on a daily basis as corpses are recovered. From the intelligence TVC News gather, the attackers have now extended their mayhem to villages in neighboring Barkin Ladi local government area. Plateau State correspondent Funam Joshua has details.
It is now day 4 to the attack, killing and burning of properties belonging to locals in Mangu Council area of Plateau State, which the situation has continued unabated despite several calls by the locals for help. The number of people killed in Mangu since Tuesday midnight attack across 20 villages has now increased to 120 persons. The situation has generated serious concern across the country about the main reason and cause of the attack. Properties belonging to the locals that fled their villages as a result of the attack are now being destroyed daily by the attackers, with others looting. Information received on the situation has it that the attackers have extended their mission to neighboring communities in Barkin Ladi. The leadership of the Magavu Development Association, an umbrella body of the Mangu natives, is worried about the situation. It decided to brief journalists to let the world know the challenging situation natives in the area are being subjected to for the past 4 days. They spoke on several issues pertaining to the attack and then itemized some recommendations on the way forward.
Today, we want the world to know that what is happening to us can best be described as genocide. It is systematic and deliberate ethnic cleansing of the minority tribes in Nigeria, and we cannot allow this to continue. We are calling on our people to arise and defend themselves. Your God-given land and properties with all that you have. There is trauma and psychological depression. There is fear of even their safety where they are taking shelter as a threat spread across the local government.
We spoke to some stakeholders in the Plateau Peace Project who condemned the attack and the actions taken by the government over the development.
It's unfortunate that for 4 days, no government present. No. So we want to appeal to both government at state and federal levels to take a step to reduce that we have a government.
We have not seen any help right from Monday up to now. What is happening? What is the government doing? We want people, non-governmental organizations, we want people outside the government to come and help us.
The Mangu Development Association is also calling for the creation of state police, which they believe will do well in tackling all attacks being perpetrated on local communities. Funam Joshua, TVC News, Jos.
Let's now speak to lawmaker representing Mangu Boko's federal constituency in Plateau State, Solomon Marin. Also joining me is National President, Bureau of Youth Molder Association, Daliop Solomon Wantiri. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the news tonight. Let's begin with Mr. Wantiri. You've been following killings of this nature in the past years. We're also told that you were in Mangu on the first day of the attack. What did you experience?
Sorry, the network interrupted. Is the question put to me?
Mr. Wantiri, yes. I did say that you were in Mangu on the first day of the attack. What did you experience?
Of course, my experience is a kind of eyewitness devastation of native communities that have not done anything to warrant the mayhem unleashed on them by the Fulani militias, who went in their hundreds and ravaged villages and communities for the whole night and also continued the following day, because the incident occurred at about midnight of Monday and it continued till morning. And of course, the initial places that we attacked were Kubzei and also Kubat villages. And of course, the death recorded were almost 50. And then, of course, when people were running from the villages, the few individuals that were around mustered boldness, and gather up the corpse for mass burial to be conducted. Unfortunately, while they were preparing for that, the Fulanis also came in their numbers and disrupted the process. And that led to the ravaging of not less than 6 villages. And of course, when we went there, believing that we are there to witness the mass burial, unfortunately for us, we were ambushed alongside the military and other sister agencies that went for rescue mission. And then, of course, we appreciate the effort at that time made by the security agents who repelled the attackers, even though I see it like more of sending them away. Because as at the time we left Kiambus, moving towards Metumbi, where houses were being razed down by Fulanis. Of course, on our way, we spotted not less than 500 Fulanis, well armed, moving, and some had even pinned down so that if there will be any further further move by the security, it would have possibly be a deadly incident, because I was there as an eyewitness. And what actually baffled me in the in that sad incident is that Fulani women and children were the ones looting, food items, domestic animals, and so many other valuables, while the other adults were there, shooting and also, burning houses. And I was wondering, what kind of incident is this, that little children and women are also involved?
All right. Mr. Wantiri, let me quickly bring in Honorable Maran into this conversation. Honorable, I'm sure that you are familiar with eyewitness account like that of Mr. Wantiri. You are perhaps one of the closest representatives that Mangu people have to government. How is government responding at this time in the area of security and welfare for the people?
Well, let me first of all thank you for having us at this time, and also say it is very unfortunate that we are not meeting to discuss things that will develop our country, but rather we are meeting to talk about mayhem, to talk about killings, to talk about destruction of people and their lives and their properties. I will say, in terms of security intervention, yes, the few security men that were on ground, and that they are not properly armed, and so they were at a point overwhelmed by these bandits or terrorists, I can say, and that has made the situation to continue to worsen. And in terms of any form of relief by government, we have not seen any yet. We're trying our best to see how our people can be accommodated, because as our people naturally, when they are displaced, they don't like going to camps where they seek refuge. They look for their relatives wherever they are, however far, if they can locate them. They will prefer to go and stay with their relatives. And so we have so many people, only a few in camps, that have been displaced without any form of relief that have been extended to them. This is most unfortunate. This is not the type of country that any of us have been dreaming of, even while we're growing up, to talk of what is happening even during our time. And our people are suffering, being killed in cold blood, unprovoked attacks upon these communities. And this has been consistent since 2001. And nobody has done us any kind of intervention that will show that, yes, we are Nigerians like other people. Just like you had the president of the Mangu Development said, we see this more as a genocide on minority communities within the central Nigeria. And government have done very little, so to say.
Exactly my point, Honorable, because you have also asked the president to, deploy military presence, and also called on NEMA to swing into action in the area of welfare. How far has that gone?
That is exactly what we are saying, sir. We have not seen the kind of response that we have been calling for. We have called the president to look at what is happening. Over 150 people killed within 4 days, because most of the communities that have been ravaged up to today have been occupied by these assailants. And even rescuers cannot go there in order to cover some of the corpses that are littering those communities. And so this is what we expected, that the president would have done something like what he did when the elections in Ekiti was going on sometimes ago, when over 100,000 policemen were sent to Ekiti. At this point, I think if the whole Nigerian army will deploy to that area so that it will bring about peace and security, I think the president would have been doing the needful in that area. And by now, why do we establish the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs? If such a huge humanitarian issue will arise, and 4 days after, no extension of pleasantry, no extension of some of this relief to these country people. These are people who pay their taxes. These are people who are living peacefully. These are people who are sleeping in their communities and doing their businesses, trying to run their families. And they were attacked in a late night attack, unprovoked. And so this is why we keep crying out, and that is why you see minority tribes within the north central Nigeria see it as a genocide attempt on them. Because
what is government at the local level doing now to provide succor, particularly for those who are being displaced? Is there an IDP camp organized in this
You
regard?
actually know how handicapped the local governments are at the moment, because that is one of the things we have been fighting, local government autonomies, so that they get whatever is the fair share of their own revenue, so that they can use it in order to manage their people.
All
But
right.
when these monies go into Jack account and they are shared according to the discretion of those in power, you know that these local governments are just a mere figurehead. There is nothing they can actually offer. But they are.
Honorable, let me quickly bring in Mr. Wantiri
what
into this conversation as we begin to wrap up. What are you doing? Because you represent a youth organization in that area. What's being done to ensure that this doesn't deteriorate into reprisal attack by the concerned communities?
Of course, our people have remained law-abiding citizens. That's why it is not on, in short, there is no such a record that native inhabitants or communities around have ever initiated or planned any act of aggression on the Fulanis whom they have hosted for over years. And of course, we've been agitating, calling for needed action, and then also advise our people not to take the law into their hands. But of course, it also behoves on us that since the federal security could not guarantee the safety of individuals, the safety of lives and property of people who have hosted the aggressors, of course, we have no option than to call for our people to rise up to the occasion and exercise the right of self-defense. Because, of course, these people come with, the attackers, the Fulani came with sophisticated weapons. And then, of course, looking at it, the people will have to resort to only but local security, like community police, and then the vigilante, who are only allowed to make use of den guns. Of course, someone with a den gun, and then someone is coming to attack him with sophisticated weapons, AK-47, and so many others. Of course, what do you expect?
I hear you, Mr. Wantiri. I'm afraid that's our time. We'll also be speaking with representatives of the Fulani headers in that area to get their position on this matter in our subsequent bulletins. Dahlia Solomon Wantiri is National President of Beram Youth Mode Association. We also have Solomon Marin, the representative lawmaker representing Mangu, Boko's federal constituency. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the news tonight.